Hello Year 4, welcome to our Jumanji Cafe. I am going to be reading the story today and then Miss Taylor is going to show you how to make the craft activity once we've listened to the story. Now remember, Mother said, your father and I are bringing some guests by after the opera, so please keep the house nice and neat. Quite so, added Father, tucking his scarf inside his coat. Mother peered into the hall mirror and carefully pinned her hair in place. Then knelt and kissed both children goodbye. When the front doors closed, Judy and Peter giggled with delight. They took all the toys out of their toy chest and made a terrible mess. But their laughter slowly turned to silence, till finally Peter slouched into a chair. You know what, he said, I'm really bored. Me too, sighed Judy. Why don't we go outside and play? Peter agreed, so off they set across the street to the park. It was cold for November. The children could see their breath like steam. They rolled in the leaves, and when Judy tried to stuff some leaves down Peter's sweater, he jumped up and ran behind a tree. When his sister caught up with him, he was kneeling at the foot of the tree, looking at a long, thin box. What's that? Judy asked. It's a game, said Peter, handing her the box. Jumanji, Judy read from the box, a jungle adventure game. Look, said Peter, pointing to a note taped to the bottom of the box. In a childlike handwriting were the words, free game, fun for some but not for all. P.S. Read the instructions carefully. Want to take it home? Judy asked. Not really, said Peter. I'm sure somebody left it here because it's so boring. Oh, come on, protested Judy. Let's give it a try. Race you home. And she ran with Peter at her heels. At home, the children spread the game out on a card table. It looked very much like the games they already had. There was a board that unfolded, revealing a path of coloured squares. The squares had messages written on them. The path started in the deepest jungle and ended up in Jumanji, a city of golden buildings and towers. Peter began to shake the dice and play with the other pieces that were in the box. Put those down and listen, said Judy. I'm going to read the instructions. Jumanji, a young people's jungle adventure game, designed especially for the bored and restless. A. Player selects piece and places it in deepest jungle. B. Player rolls dice and moves piece along the path through the dangers of the jungle. C. First player to reach Jumanji and yell the city's name aloud is the winner. Is that all? Asked Peter, sounding disappointed. No, said Judy. There's one more thing, and this is in capital letters. D. Very important. Once a game of Jumanji has started, it will not be over until one player reaches the Golden City. Oh, big deal, said Peter, who gave a bored yawn. Here, said Judy, handing her brother the dice. You go first. Peter casually dropped the dice from his hand. 7, said Judy. Peter moved his piece to the 7th square. Lion attacks, move back 2 squares, read Judy. Gosh, how exciting, said Peter in a very unexcited voice. As he reached for his piece, he looked up at his sister. She had a look of absolute horror on her face. Peter, she whispered, turn around very, very slowly. The boy turned in his chair. He couldn't believe his eyes. Lying on the piano was a lion, staring at Peter and licking his lips. The lion roared so loud it knocked Peter right off his chair. The big cat jumped to the floor. Peter was up on his feet, running through the house with the lion a whisker's length behind. He ran upstairs and dived under a bed. The lion tried to squeeze under, but got his head stuck. Peter scrambled out, ran from the bedroom, and slammed the door behind him. He stood in the hall with Judy, gasping for breath. I don't think, Peter said, between gasps of air, that I want to play this game anymore. But we have to, said Judy, as she helped Peter back downstairs. I'm sure that's what the instructions mean. That lion won't go away until one of us wins the game. Peter stood next to the card table. Can't we just call the zoo and have him taken away? From upstairs came the sounds of growling and clawing at the bedroom door. Or maybe we could wait until Father comes home. No one would come from the zoo because they wouldn't believe us, said Judy. And you know how upset Mother would be if there was a lion in the bedroom. We started this game and now we have to finish it. Peter looked down at the board game. What if Judy rolled a 7? Then there'd be 2 lions. For an instant, Peter thought he was going to cry. Then he sat firmly in his chair and said, "Right, let's play." Judy picked up the dice, rolled an 8 and moved her piece. "Monkeys steal food, miss 1 turn," she read. From the kitchen came the sounds of banging pots and falling jars. The children ran in to see a dozen monkeys tearing the room apart. "Oh boy," said Peter, "this would upset Mother even more than the lion." "Quickly," Judy said, "back to the game." Peter took his turn. Thank heavens, he landed on a blank space. He rolled again. "Monsoon season begins, lose 1 turn." Little raindrops began to fall in the living room. Then a roll of thunder shook the walls and scared the monkeys out of the kitchen. Rain began to fall as Judy took the dice. "Guide gets lost, lose 1 turn." The rain suddenly stopped. The children turned to see a man hunched over a map. "Oh dear, I say, spot of bad luck now," he mumbled. "Perhaps a left turn here? No, a right turn here. Yes, absolutely, I think, a right turn. Or maybe—" "Excuse me," said Judy, but the guide just ignored her. "Around here then. No, over here. And around this. Yes, good. But then, Judy shrugged her shoulders and handed the dice to Peter. 4, 5, 6, he counted. "Bitten by a tsetse fly, contract sleeping sickness, lose 1 turn." Judy heard a faint buzzing noise and watched a small insect land on Peter's nose. Peter lifted his hand to brush the bug away, but then stopped, gave a tremendous yawn, and fell sound asleep, his head on the table. Peter, wake up!" cried Judy. But it was no use. She grabbed the dice and moved to a blank. She rolled again and waited in amazement. "Rhinoceros stampede, go back 2 spaces." As fast as he had fallen asleep, Peter awoke. Together they listened to a rumble in the hallway. It grew louder and louder. Suddenly, a herd of rhinoceroses charged through the living room and into the dining room, crushing all the furniture in their path. Peter and Judy covered their ears as sounds of splintering wood and breaking china filled the house. Peter gave the dice a quick tumble. "Python sneaks into camp. Go back 1 space." Judy shrieked and jumped up onto her chair. "Over the fireplace," said Peter. Judy sat down again, nervously eyeing the 8-foot snake that was wrapping itself around the mantel clock. The guide looked up from his map, took 1 look at the snake, and moved to the far corner of the room, joining the monkeys on the couch. Judy took her turn and landed on a blank space. Her brother took the dice and rolled a 3. "Oh no," he moaned. "Volcanoes erupt. Go back 3 spaces." The room became warm and started to shake a little. Molten lava poured from the fireplace opening. It hit the water on the floor and the room filled with steam. Judy rolled the dice and moved ahead. "Discover a shortcut. Roll again." "Oh dear," she cried. Judy saw the snake unwrapping himself from the clock. "If you roll a 12, you can get out of the jungle," said Peter. Please, Judy begged as she shook the dice. The snake was wiggling his way on the floor. She dropped the dice from her hand. 1 6, then another. Judy grabbed her piece and slammed it to the board. "Jumanji!" she yelled as loud as she could. The steam in the room became thicker and thicker. Judy could not even see Peter across the table. Then, as if all the doors and windows had been open, a cool breeze cleared the steam from the room. Everything was just as it had been before the game. No monkeys, no guide, no water, no broken furniture, no snake, no lion roaring upstairs, no rhinos. Without saying a word to each other, Peter and Judy threw the game into its box. They bolted out of the door, ran across the street to the park, and dropped the game under a tree. Back home, they quickly put all their toys away, but both children were too excited to sit quietly, so Peter took out a puzzle picture. As they fit the pieces together, their excitement slowly turned to relief and then exhaustion. With half the puzzle done, Peter and Judy fell sound asleep on the sofa. "Wake up, dears," Mother's voice called. Judy opened her eyes. Mother and Father had returned with their guests. Judy and Peter gave a nudge to him, yawning and stretching. They got to their feet. Mother introduced them to some of the guests, then asked, "Did you have an exciting afternoon?" "Oh yes," said Peter. "We had a flood, a stampede, a volcano. I got sleeping sickness, and Peter was interrupted by the adults' laughter. Well, said Mother, I think you both got sleeping sickness. Why don't you go upstairs and put your pyjamas on? Then you can finish your puzzle and have some dinner. When Peter and Judy came back downstairs, they found that Father had moved the puzzle into the den. While the children were working on it, one of the guests, Mrs. Budwig, brought them a tray of food. Such a hard puzzle, she said to the children. Daniel and Walter are always starting puzzles and never finish them. Daniel and Walter were Mrs. Budwig's sons. They never read the instructions either. Oh well, she said, turning to rejoin the guests. I guess they'll learn. Both children answered, I hope so. But they weren't looking at Mrs. Budwig. They were looking out of the window. Two boys were running through the park. They were Danny and Walter Budwig, and Danny had a long, thin box under his arm. The end.
Welcome to our Year 4 Jumanji Cafe. I have my assistant here with me today. Come here.
Hello.
And complete with binoculars. Now, if you're going to be going into Jumanji, you need to have your own pair of binoculars. So we're going to show you how to make some binoculars today. So I hope you've got your drinks and your biscuits ready. Have you got your biscuit? Yeah, you got your drink? Right, here we go. So we've got all our equipment ready just here. So the first thing we're going to need is to get well done. Thank you, my assistant. You come on this side for me. Is you need your 2 toilet rolls, just like that. Now, what we need to do is, if you get a strip of black paper like so, you can either glue or just sellotape. So say I'm just going to sellotape. So I'm going to roll the black paper around. Can my assistant pass me some sellotape, please? Just on the table. Thank you. And we'll put the sellotape round like so. So that's one part. Now, you haven't got to use black paper. You can use whatever colour you want, can't you, Blake? Whatever colour you want your binoculars to be.
Or
you do exactly.
maybe that.
You could do, but I think paper's best.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to do the same with the other one. So get another piece of black paper. And assistant, can you please pass me some more sellotape? There you go. Fold it round again. You put it on for me. There. Lovely. Okay, I did want it that way really. Otherwise, if you put it that way, it might come undone. So let's have it a long ways, like that. So now you've got both of them done, like so. So next thing we're going to do is we've got. Can you hold your binoculars, Blake? We're going to make this bit in here, aren't we? So we've got a smaller tube. Now, when I made this one, I couldn't find any tubes. So what I did was I just rolled up some card and then wrapped that. But I managed to find a little bit of tube from a poster we'd had. So I've got another piece of black paper. So again, roll it up. Assistant, have some sellotape, please. You're a very good assistant. You're very helpful. We're ready to go to Jumanji in no time. Fantastic. Thank you. There we go. So that's the main part of our binoculars. So this bit goes in the middle and those bits go on the outside. So now I've actually changed the way I did this, because on these ones, I decided to make these clear so you can still see through them, because some people just want them to be put down on the table. Let me take this off. So you can use them to put pencils and things in. But I thought, gee, if you want to really use them for binoculars, you want to be able to look through them, don't you? So I found one of Blake's toys and I found some of the packaging from it, and I cut out some clear circles. Now, if you put those on the top like so, and then we need some sellotape. Now, you don't want to put the sellotape right over the top of the plastic because it'll make it all blurry. So we'll try and do it around the edge. Can I get some more sellotape? I have to cut some with some scissors now. So just put that around there like that. And a little bit more, thank you, Blake. Round the other side, like so. And that should hold it in place. So that's one of them. So you've got a nice clear bit through there. And I do the same with this one. So can you get me some more sellotape? So I've got another clear circle. We lost the end. We should never lose the end of a sellotape. It's always annoying, isn't it? Do the trick. When you've done it, you always hang it on the edge of the table afterwards. You can't lose the end, like so. Right. So you cut me another little bit. Try not to lose the end this time. So let's put it on the side there. Like that. Oh, yeah, and we'll cut it. So this is teamwork, isn't it? Hey? Well done. Oops, a daisy. We'll drop the sellotape. Right, so that out there like that. It's under the table. Right, so we've got our 2 ends of our binoculars with see-through bits at the bottom. Now, to make it a little bit more authentic, we put this thicker layer around the edge here. Now, it did say you could use black foam, but I didn't have any black foam, so I thought, what can I use? So I thought, well, I'll just use the same paper that we used before. But if you fold it and double it up, you end up with a thick layer. So then what we're going to do is to cover up all this sellotape we put around here, we're just going to wrap this around like so. So assistant, can I please have some more sellotape?
Of course.
Thank you.
I'm always up for finding sellotape.
Oh, don't lose the end. I need some more for when I do the other one.
Only know.
So just put some sellotape down there. Now, if you try and keep this bit and this bit in line, means all the sellotape bits you can keep underneath the bottom, like so. So that's one part of our binocular. We've now got to, I think that's a bit long, don't you, Blake? You're going to end up getting it everywhere. Right. So you do exactly the same.
That's how I never lose the end.
Is it?
Yeah,
You'll end up getting it all
more.
tangled. You'll end up sticking yourself with the sellotape. So again, same again. So we're going to wrap it all the way round.
Please, why not?
Like that.
I got a bridge. A bridge of sellotape has now begun.
Right,
Bridge,
and then
Mum. You can walk over the
again.
bridge. Mum, there's a Jumanji bridge.
Yeah, it's a Jumanji bridge. Lovely. I thought you were trying to help me. Come on.
Funny.
Right, so we're going to still take that around there. Might just tuck that in there. So we've now got our 2 parts of our binoculars with the slightly more authentic looking ends on them. So the idea now is got to now put it all together. So if you've got some double-sided sticky tape, great. If you haven't, some people, if you're a bit crafty, you might have a glue gun at home that you could use. But I'm just going to double round that sellotape, put that in there like so, and I'm just going to stick the 2 parts together like that.
A lot more sellotape.
Now, this bit goes in the top, that's like the viewfinder part. So I need a little bit of sellotape, please, Mr. Assistant Blake. Done it? You should really be cutting with your right hand, seeing as you're right-handed. So again, double side it round. We're going to put it there, like so. Oh, now, what you should now have is a pair of binoculars, like that with your viewfinder. Now, mine's actually starting to come undone. Ah, we didn't use enough sellotape, so can my assistant please provide me with some more sellotape? Because it's coming unstuck.
Here you go. As much sellotape as I can have.
Right, there we go.
But that's not as much.
Let me get that bit there.
All of this.
We've got to stop this from coming undone. The last thing you want when you're looking for your binoculars is them to fall apart on you. Right, here we go. So we've got our binoculars with our viewfinder. Now, of course, you don't want to be just carrying your binoculars. You don't want to be carrying your binoculars around all the time, do you, Blake? So what do we need to do? We need to put them on a bit of string.
Yeah.
So.
Like I have. Okay. Yeah. As I can get it on.
Yeah. So what we've done with Blake's ones is you get a bit of string. And
wait, Mum, can I keep this? You
can either sellotape it or this bit keeps coming apart, doesn't it?
Yep. Have all the sellotape you like. Because look how many sellotape.
I know, but it's not very helpful if I only want a little bit.
A little. Hey,
right.
there we
go. So let's have a look at getting this in. So with, again, another little bit of sellotape. Sellotape assistant, I want one little bit of sellotape.
Okay.
One little bit. Thank you. I might have to choose somebody who can get me little bits maybe next time, not all this lots and lots. So we're going to put this inside here and make sure the viewfinder's on top. So I'll take that inside there, like so. Now, if you really want to make this look effective, what we did on Blake's ones, we actually painted the inside as well. So just use some paint to do that. So I've got one end. So this is what happens when you have too much sellotape, isn't it? We just want a little bit. So can I have a little bit of sellotape, please, Blake? I've got to put the other bit in this one here.
Oops. Don't worry, I can untangle it.
Lovely, thank you. So you're learning, aren't you? So that one goes in there like so.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I want to tell you something.
And now, hopefully, you should have your Jumanji binoculars. And
ready.
they should fit round your neck.
Now I can find some more explorers that are alive.
Now we can go into Jumanji. Enjoy making your binoculars. Say bye, Blake.
Bye, and hope you like Jumanji forever. Down in the dungeon. Was I helpful?
You were very helpful.